So moving on to the next 10 years, and I know it's always a challenge, but for an investor that's sitting here kind of wondering what they should get into or what are some of the bigger trends, you've talked about ETFs. Do you see that continuing? Do you see that, or where do you see, or how do you see that evolving? But what are some of the other trends that you're seeing sort of in a longer term?
I think ETF investing is here to stay, and it's not necessarily a bad thing as long as we understand what it does and we sort of adapt to that behavior. Now, a lot of that would be a greater understanding of behavioral finance and the herd mentality. There's been a lot of herding. Every year you see the herd moving this way and that way.
Yeah.
And the smart investor would be very clever to understand the herding mentality, be able to track it and invest accordingly. That's going to be hard to do when if you equate that to a market timing issue, which is a near impossibility. We all luck out once in a while, but it's not something you can hang your investing hat on. I think most investors should accept that passive investing is here to stay, whether you make it work for you. Yeah, you can certainly make it work for you. Everybody's a genius in rising markets, but be very careful when the tide goes out. And that's where people take experience, because most investors will not see it because it's a counterintuitive thing. Investing is very counterintuitive in the sense that most of the time the thing to do is what hurts the most. It probably would have hurt a lot of people to get out of their big winners in January, wouldn't it? I mean, it was still all wine and roses. The numbers were fantastic. Unemployment was down, and all this advice of let it ride. Nobody pays attention that volatility was down to 9, and they say, well, it's been down for a long time, so there's no rush to buy insurance. So that's a lot of recognition in yourself. I think it was Bill Gross who said that. Can't remember the exact conversation, but he was asked by an interviewer what makes him so good. Yeah, he was the bond king for a good long time. And he said, I'm not really different from any other guys. I mean, bond is a very quantitative investment class. So all the techniques are known to people. But I think what's differentiated me from everybody else is that I know myself. I know that when a trade looks like a no-brainer, I have learned to step back and say, wait a minute, if it's a no-brainer, then everybody should be piling into it. So I have to dig deeper. So he's learned to do that. On the other hand, it is the deals that made him sick to his gut that really hurt him to pull the trigger on, that he said, I can't believe I'm doing this. Those were the trades that ultimately made him a lot of money most of the time. So, like I said, it's a counterintuitive thing. And that'll even be more true over the next 10 years, given that passive investing is here to stay. Passive investing just harnesses the herd in an unprecedented way. It's kind of hard to fight the herd, right?
Yeah, well, it is. And I mean, I always say that I think one of Warren Buffett's great traits is his ability to stick to his strategy despite all the noise around him. And I think I first became aware of him back in the late 90s when everyone was writing him off as an old guy that didn't know how to invest anymore, because he was missing the dot-com boom. And then
Yeah.
a couple of years later he was a genius again.